All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier eye hypnosis coach and your personal guide. So, today, the topic for our pod on the eye hypnosis coach speaks is it's a topic that's definitely close to my heart, and it's something that I've been thinking about for quite a while. And so I was having a very powerful um, discussion, in fact several of them, with with a dear friend of mine. And of course, Aparna, if you're listening to this, a shout out to you. And the topic of the conversation really was you know the the story of our lives, especially as healers, especially as digital coaches. Um, what there is a lot of power, obviously, in our stories. Right? All of us have really powerful stories, and a lot of times we tell these stories, but we tell it in a way where we don't quite often give it too much thought. So maybe it's like saying it's usually very anecdotal. By that I mean that maybe somebody's sharing a story about something that's happening in their life that kind of triggers us, and then we share something similar. Or maybe at best, we may just listen, like make space for them and just listen to their story. Now, having said that, of course, as healers, as digital coaches, it's a little different because this is something that I personally have been, I definitely will say, to quite an extent, I've been struggling with for many, many years, and definitely in a more sort of pinpointed, strategic way over the last 4 or 5 years. This is one area where I've struggled a lot, which is to be able to tell my story, um, not once, not twice, but whenever required and in whatever way, right? Now, the reason why I'm also bringing this up is that um, largely especially as healers, as digital coaches, largely what we're bringing to the table is our own life experiences. Of course, depending on what we're doing, if we are, let's say, focusing on Indian, let's say, healing that has Indian roots, for example, yoga, or maybe healing that has Eastern roots, say, Reiki, or healing that has very, very Western roots. By that I mean, shamanic or shamanic roots. So things like body work, um, maybe things like, um, there's like the Feldenkrais technique. So there are many of these healing processes that maybe we've learned. And now we're at that point where we want to be able to help other people and heal other people. Now, in order to be able to do that, right, largely the way the world has been shaping especially over the last couple of years, is that if we don't tell our stories, then people don't really know us, and they don't know why we have chosen to be healers. They don't know why we've chosen to be coaches. And if they don't know why, then they're going to make their own assumptions, meaning that they're going to assume that we're doing it either to make a quick buck. In fact, earlier today, I had a very, very powerful conversation on this. If you think about the coaching industry today, it is very young. It is very new. I'm saying this also because over the last 20 years, the first 5, 7, 9 years possibly, um, there wasn't really even a coaching industry or a business. Right? So it was largely doing training, whether it was corporate training or whether it was, you're doing personal development training, but there wasn't any concept of coaching. Obviously, we're now in 2024, so I'm talking over the maybe the last 4 to say about 6 to 7 years, things have started to shift. And of course, there's been this one wave that happened after COVID, where a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, comparatively, there are a lot more people who are interested in being coaches, people who want to make a difference because they were going through something and then they had an experience and then they realized that, if they can change and they now know how to be able to change, it's sort of like a lot of them have, and a lot of us have taken it upon ourselves as a moral responsibility to to help other people. So coming back to the core topic, which is, um, this whole thing about telling our story, right? Uh, if we don't tell our story, then people will not know. And the example that I was, of course, quoting was that for those of you who are like me, you've been following personal development for maybe many, many years, maybe on the quiet or the sly, like you probably didn't want your friends to know, or you didn't really, um, that wasn't a common topic that you shared with them, but it's still something that you were connected to, right? Whether it was reading self-help books, and then eventually it was, audiobooks that happened. And then, of course, eventually with COVID, a lot more, webinars became a thing. And today, of course, you realize that you do have a lot that you can share. And if you don't, so let me go back to the example, right? So if you've heard Tony Robbins' story about how when he was somewhere, I think between 16 and 17, I think it was 16 and 18, um, his experience of Thanksgiving and the the turkey dinner that showed up at his door. If you even just Google, turkey dinner, Thanksgiving, Tony Robbins, you'll see tons of videos on it. The point I'm making is that even after close to, I think, about 50, 60 years, probably 50 years, um, even today, he still tells that story. So it's fascinating to know how, in this work that we're doing, our stories are part of our trademark. By that I mean that our stories are unique to us in the way that we tell them. And of course, exactly what happened in that story was what makes our story ours. Um, what was interesting was that for me personally, the struggle, the difficulty that I had been, and I will say had, because till earlier today, it was something that for the longest time I had been wrestling with, because in my story it's not just only about me, right? It's about my wife. It's about her her, I won't even call it a battle. It was her experience of being diagnosed with breast cancer, and then of course the journey that she was on. um, one realization, of course, was that I can only talk about my experience of being by her side through that process. I cannot, beyond the point, talk about how she felt, because again, it's only my impression. It's not my experience, because only her experience is her experience. So this was something that for the longest time I know that I had been struggling with. And I'm sure if you are you're watching this, you're a digital, let's say you're a healer or you're a digital coach, and in your story, if it involves somebody else, it may be your spouse, it may be a family member, could be a parent, could be maybe a child, your child. And if this is one of the reasons that you've been kind of holding back because it didn't feel right. In my case, of course, I was talking to uh, somebody that I met recently. I was talking to her yesterday. Shout out to you, Deepthi. And as I was sharing this, exactly like how I'm sharing this with you now, I was sharing this with Deepthi yesterday. And through the course of the conversation, when I kind of was workshopping it with her, saying, hey, so this is what I've been trying to figure out, and what do you think? Like, how do you look at this, especially when if your story involves not just you but other key family members, for example. How do you deal with that? And of course, what she shared was something, um, related but different. But in listening to her, what came to me was this realization that I felt in my mind. One of the things was that I had not, um, sought permission to be able to tell the story that involves my wife's experiences, or so I thought. Now, the reason for today's pod is this, that I get to share these realizations, these reflections, this analysis sometimes as a way to, for me to, like some people write in their diaries. For me, this digital diary, this dear diary, this daily pod is a way to just reflect on the day, to reflect sometimes on, moments in life. And I know that uh, whenever you are watching this, there will be something within this that will shift for you. Now, the beautiful part is I don't need to figure out which part that is or what it is. It's just, it's like I've been given this charge to show up and record these pods on the iHypnosis Coach Speaks. And so, even as I'm kind of, starting to wrap today's pod, the realization for me is this, that, and this is again what I was sharing with my friend and partner today, which is it's one thing to know that, yes, you do have your story that you can today share with other people, with people who are like you on the journey. Definitely, you can share it. But the deeper realization for me today was that it is not some anecdotal piece, meaning that there is a lot of value in it. And so, as long as I'm willing to be present, and as long as I'm willing to, to value it, and not just sort of like, uh, you know, um, just say it for the heck of it, but instead, as long as I'm willing to be present to how I am, being affected as I share the story, that is sign. That's a sign, or that's proof to me that I'm being mindful of sharing something that I went through. So, of course, in the coming days, I'm sure you'll hear more of this pod, the sub parts of it possibly. And all I can actually say, and you can tell today I'm in more of a reflective mood. What I can say is, a big thank you to you, because somewhere it's your intention, regardless of when you happen to be watching this, it's your intention to hear these words, as a way to help you on your journey, that has prompted these solo pods. And this is what inspires me to keep coming back every day, and to take a moment, reflect, and share with you. So wishing you, of course, all the very best on your journey, whether you're a healer or a digital coach. And um, my responsibility that I have taken, that I will be there and I will be here for you, especially when you're on this journey, because maybe you feel alone on this journey, and your friends or your family members, maybe your spouse, they don't really understand the journey that you're on right now. And I just want you to know that's totally okay. Right? I've been extremely blessed that there have been, some members of, whether it's my family or friends, who have understood enough to give me the space to find my own feet. And of course, in my case, I've been fortunate to have done this now for literally 2 decades. But to me, what I would say, in fact, in honor of you, what I would say is that it doesn't matter whether you've just begun, whether you've been doing this for a couple of years, or maybe you've been doing this for many years. And today you're at that point where you know that, in order to be able to tell your message, in order to be able to share your story with the world, um, you know, digital, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's digital medium or media, it's important to be able to tap into it. Right? That's one of the reasons why now, today at this point, I've literally, shot more than 500 videos um, consistently and what's the word for it? Consecutively, meaning every single day for like the last 500 plus days. And it's not so much as a brag as just a reminder that, when you find the reason as to why you want to, share the message, share your message. This is something that came to me, I think it was maybe about a year and a half ago, that, when you have reached that point where you know that your story is no longer your story, it's it's now your message that is meant to be received by others so that um, it can become their story. It can become their reminder to start to, discover their story, and therefore, like literally carry it forward. So I definitely look forward to many more of these conversations. And I will, of course, from time to time reflect on this pod and share with you how things have moved and, shifted since today. So, big thank you to you. And as I always, and I'll remind you that, in spite of all of this, if you feel that you're stuck, please do reach out. Reach out to somebody that you trust, somebody, who cares for you. And if for some reason you believe that right now that's not something that you have access to, then please reach out to me and let me know. Like if there's any way in which I can help you, I'd be more than happy to do so. So looking forward to seeing you in the next pod. And of course, as always, remember to live with purpose. And God bless. And I will definitely see you tomorrow in our daily pod. Take care.